Hello everyone, welcome to this video and welcome to the firewall detection and evasion module. In this particular video, we'll be talking about detecting firewalls using ACK probes. Now again, before we actually get started with evasion, we need to find out, or we need a scan to be able to check, whether we have a firewall in place, one that is actually blocking or is filtering traffic inbound and outbound as well. So what we're going to be doing, our environment that we've set up is we're going to be using the Windows box, which is Metasploitable 3. And the reason for that is, let me just open that up right now. The reason for that is because we have access to the Windows firewall. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off the Windows firewall so that we have a side-by-side comparison. So we'll run the scan before when the firewall is disabled, and then we'll run a scan after when we've enabled the firewall. So that'll give us a good side-by-side view. All right, so I'll open Kali Linux back up here again, and now before we actually use the scan, let's understand what's going on. So again, I mentioned that this is using ACK probes, so it's fairly simple to understand. What we're doing is we're sending packets with the TCP flag set to ACK, right? So again, we're sending that to the target, and if we don't get a response from the target, it means that there is some sort of a firewall or packet filtering system in place, right? However, if we get an RST, that tells us that particular device that tells us that there isn't a firewall in place, because the port is actually, the various ports and are actually responding, and based on what type of scan we perform. So again, it's very easy to understand. So I'm just going to run a test scan on the Windows box or the Metasploitable 3 box. And to do that, again, we simply type in Nmap and we'll run not SS, we want to run SA. So that's the ACK probe scan. And then we specify the IP address. In my case, it's 192.168.1.38. And we can actually open this up in Wireshark so that I can actually show you that it does send the ACK probes. So what we'll do is we'll initiate the scan right now. And immediately you can see we have all our ACKs here, and we're getting tons of RSTs, which again tells us that there isn't a firewall in place, and that's because we disabled Windows Firewall. So we'll also run this scan after. So there we are. We can see that the report tells us, and this is because this is a default scan, it'll scan 1000 of the most common ports, but it'll tell us that all the 1000 ports on the target are unfiltered, which means that they aren't being filtered or they aren't being blocked by any particular firewall or stateful firewall for that matter. All right, so that's fairly easy to understand. So let me just take you through setting up the Windows firewall again. So again, if I'm going to turn on Windows firewall, and I'm just going to turn it on for both public and private networks, and I'll open up the Kali box one more time, and we can run the same scan. So I'll just stop the capture. Before we do that, again, I just want to prove to you that again, it is sending all the ACKs. So there we are. We send all the ACKs. And again, this will do it individually for the ports. So for example, for port 445, we get the RSTs, etc., which again tell us that there isn't a firewall. So what I'll do now is we'll start a new capture here, and we'll run the same scan, right? And now it should tell us that all the 1000 ports are being filtered, right? So you can see we're sending all of these ACKs, but we're not getting any responses. We aren't getting any RSTs back, which again tells us that, hey, that there is a firewall. Something is actually blocking or filtering all of these requests. So there we are. This will tell us, concretely that there is some sort of filtering going on, and that again is very useful. So there we are. It tells us all 1000 scan ports on the target are filtered. And again, we can also run this scan for particular ports, which is also very useful, because not all ports, are being filtered by a particular firewall. There may be different firewall rules set up for different ports. So again, I can run port 80. Let's say if I wanted to check if port 80 is being filtered, so I hit enter. And that tells us, yes, that port 80 is being filtered. We can try that, with port 22 for SSH. Sorry, that's port 2. Let me just change that to 22. And there we are. It tells us it's also filtered. So again, if there is a firewall in place, you can see we sent all of these ACKs here. If I can just go back, there we are. We can see it sent all of these ACKs, and we don't get any RSTs back, which is again concretely telling us that there is some sort of packet filtering going on. That being said, that's all that I wanted to cover in this video, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at our first firewall evasion technique, and that is using the fragment packets options, which actually allows you to fragment your packets, to be reassembled when they reach your target. And that's a great way of evading firewalls. However, this technique is slightly outdated now because again, we have multiple, we have various new firewalls that are actually configured to trace, fragmented packets and to also rebuild them as well. So this is useful for, older misconfigured firewalls that you'll find out there. So again, using it is quite simple. All we need to do is, again, if I'm performing a super stealthy scan, I can use the stealth or the SYN scan, and then I specify the fragment option, which is just F, and that's going to fragment it. It's going to fragment the packets into 8 byte, into the size of 8 bytes each, and I'll show you this with Wireshark. And in this case, we're running it on the Metasploitable 3 virtual machine. So I will just type in the IP here. So let's open up Wireshark and we'll go through this together. So I'll open that up and we'll just run the scan, and we'll wait for it to complete before I start inspecting Wireshark, just so that I can show you what's happening. So again, I'll stop the scan now, and we now have tons of information, and you can see all the packets highlighted in a dark gray or in a blackish color here. These are all fragmented IP protocols, or for lack of a better word, fragmented packets that are going to be reassembled when they reach the target. And again, based on for the time being, you can just ignore the SYN request, because these are again being sent. This is for the purpose of performing the actual the stealth scan. So if we get rid of that here, I just want to show you how that looks without any particular hindrance. I'll just run that scan one more time, and we'll just hit enter. And if we take a look at now, you can see again we have our same SYN, but again we can disable the port scan if we want to. But again, this is just a great way of actually fragmenting your packets to evade firewalls. And again, the packets are fragmented and then reassembled when they reach your target or the target host. So that's how to use the fragment option. And in the next video, we'll be taking a look at the various other firewall evasion techniques. Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be talking about firewall evasion by specifying a custom MTU. MTU stands for your maximum transmission unit. So this video had to come after the fragment packets video, and that's because they're quite similar. In the fragment packets video, with the packets are fragmented into 8 bytes, right, per particular packet. When you talk about specifying your own custom MTU or your maximum transmission unit, you can customize this to whatever size you want, and this again can be used to evade certain firewalls with certain rules, and is basically used for testing and trial and error, basically checking what will actually confuse or evade the firewall. So again, using it is very, very simple. All we need to do is type in Nmap, and again we can then specify the MTU, which we specify a number, so it can be 8 bytes, 16 bytes, 32, 24, etc. So the size has to actually be a multiple of 8, given that again with the minimum fragment packet fragment size is going to be 8. So again, it has to be a multiple of 8. So we have 8, 16, 24, and 32. So again, we can specify the MTU size here. So in my case, I can specify something like 16. We can start off with 16, and I can just hit enter. I can enter my Windows or the Metasploitable 3 virtual machine. We'll open up Wireshark just to track what's going on, and I will just hit enter, and you should see the same results as the fragment packets. However, the MTU size is now 16 bytes, that is, sorry. All right, so we'll let that complete, and then after it's completed, we'll actually check the results here. So there we are. We can stop it now, and if you inspect this, you should be able to find the actual size here. So we'll look at the data, and you can see it's now limited to 16, whereas with the fragment packets option, that was only set to 8. So again, this can be used for trial and error, just to see how large you can actually how large your maximum transmission unit is if you actually want to go down the route of fragmenting your packets. So it's a very, very useful technique. Again, you can combine it with other particular scans, like an aggressive scan, for example, and we can just hit enter, and I'll just start up Wireshark again, and we can run that scan. Now this is going to take quite a while. Again, you can increase your maximum transmission unit to give you a better bang for your buck, as you would say. So Let's just wait for the scan to complete. It's now performing the service scan. And then after it's performed the service scan, it's going to perform the script scan. So again, the aggressive scan performs 3 types of scans. So we're just going to wait for this to complete. All right, so the scan is complete, and we can see we have the fingerprint here, the TCP fingerprint, we essentially have all the various results that we were expected to get. And again, we get the ports, the services, service versions, etc. And again, you can see how you can combine it with your own maximum MTU specification. So that's going to be it for this video, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the decoy option for Firewall Evasion. Now, the decoy option is extremely powerful, and that's because it allows you to spoof addresses, which again means that you can make them look that they're like the packets are coming from another device as opposed to yours or a different IP, right? So there's multiple ways of using the decoy option, right? So you can specify random IP addresses, or you can specify your own, right? Let's just take a look at some examples. So we're going to be running this against the Windows, against the Windows box, which is running Metasploitable 3. And again, when you want to specify a decoy, and you can do this for any type of scan, right? So again, I can be running a stealth scan, and let's say I want to run a fast scan, for example. And again, I can then specify my decoy by using the capital D, so minus capital D, and then I can specify whether I want a randomized IP addresses. I can do that by typing in RND and the amount of random devices I want to specify, or the random IPs that I'm going to be we want to use for this scan. So I can specify 2, 5, etc. However, even better is I can specify the actual IP addresses that I want to appear, that I want to use as our decoy, right? So again, this can be very useful because you can spoof administrator IP addresses to make it look like the administrator is the one performing the scan, or you can make it look like an employee is the one performing the scan. So you can do a lot of really cool stuff to trick firewalls and intrusion detection systems. So with the decoy option, we can specify various amounts of decoys, right? So I can specify, I can make it look like another host on the network is performing this scan. So I'll give you an example. I will specify my router as the device that is performing this scan. So I'll say the first decoy is 192.168.1.1, and then I can use a comma and specify another decoy. But let's just use this single decoy as an example, right? After I've specified my decoy, I can then enter the actual IP address of the target that I want to scan. In this case, it's 192.168.1.38. And I'm going to open up Wireshark, and you'll actually see this happen live. So I'll run the scan, and we hit enter. And now you can see that instead of us communicating this, and well, primarily because we've only specified one decoy, we'll actually wait for the scan to be completed. There we are. We can make it even stealthier, but you can pretty much see that the router is the one sending SYN requests right over here to the target. And you can actually see that right over if I drag up the actual TCP protocol. So you have the source and destination. So the source is 192.168.1.1. Destination is the Windows box, and again, this is a SYN scan, and again, so on and so forth. You can use it to customize the scan to your liking. So that's how you specify a decoy. So you can already see the power of this. We can also specify another decoy. So I can say 192.168.1.2. that is my other Windows operating system. So what I'll do is I'll start a new capture here, and I'll just hit enter. And we'll drag that here, and again, you can see these are being sent from all the decoys, right? So you have 1 and 2, so the router and my Windows operating system, and this is extremely powerful. And again, if I disable the if we say we don't want a SYN scan, we can just disable that, and let's run it this way. So I'll start the capture one more time, and we can then run the scan one more time again. And let's see the options now. So again, we have it going through the various decoy IP addresses that we've specified. So now that we've taken a look at specifying our own decoys, we can specify some randomized decoys. So again, I can say nmap, and I can just run a default scan this time. So I want to specify a decoy, and the decoy is going to be of random. So these are going to be random decoys. You can specify about 5 decoys. 192.168.1.38, right? And I'm just going to hit enter, and I did not start the capture, so we'll just start it again, and let's see So there we are, we get various IP addresses that are actually sending the requests to the Windows box. So we have, we just have completely random IP addresses that don't actually exist on local networks. So 26.145.225.177, so on and so forth. You get the idea. We can have other devices appear as if they are performing these scans, which is great for evading firewalls and intrusion detection systems. So that is how to use the decoy option. Again, it's very effective for spoofing different IPs, making it look like those IPs are the ones performing the scans, or those IPs actually trying to communicate to the target. So again, that's pretty much all that I wanted to cover in this video, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. In this video, we'll be taking a look at how to spoof your own MAC address. So this is very useful for pen testing local networks, ones that are going to primarily use tons of devices. And again, if you want to utilize or to spoof your MAC address to avoid detection, then this is a great technique that you can actually use, and Nmap allows you to actually run your scans with a spoofed MAC address. So again, you either have the MAC address that you want to spoof it from. So again, you might be trying to use an administrator's MAC address, or an employee's MAC address, just something to divert attention. Or you could use a totally random MAC address, because as we already have seen on the network, the MAC address can actually be used to identify you. So again, if evasion is your thing, then you can actually spoof your MAC address. So doing this is very simple. If I wanted to run a stealth scan, for example, I can then say spoof MAC, right? And then I'll simply paste in my the MAC address that I want to spoof here. And again, you can find your own MAC address. If I just open up a new terminal here and I type in ifconfig, you can see that your MAC address is right over here. Sorry, what am I? There we are. That's your MAC address for your interface. So I can copy that and use that, but that wouldn't make sense because that's my MAC address. So if you want to generate a random one, you then specify the option 0, right? And that's going to generate a totally random one for you, and then you can perform the scan on your target. So 192.168.1.38, and I'm just going to hit enter, and again it'll tell you that it's going to spoof that MAC address with no particular registered vendor, right? And that's going to run the scan with that particular MAC address, which is interesting. You can then specify your vendors if you don't want a random one. So for example, if I get rid of the option 0, I can then specify a vendor name. For example, I can say something like, let's see, Dell. I believe Dell does have one. So if I hit enter, you can see it's then going to use a MAC address that is manufactured by, the manufacturer Dell. I can also use Apple, I remember, which is also very, very useful on a network. So I can hit enter, and that's going to use an Apple MAC address, and there we are. So again, there's tons of options regarding MAC address spoofing. So you can specify your own MAC address if you have it on paper or you have it at hand. You can then generate a totally random one. I wouldn't recommend doing that, and you can then generate vendor specific ones. So that's pretty much all that I wanted to cover in this video. So that's going to be it for this module, and I'll be seeing you in the next module.